The Burj Al Arab is a feat of architectural design as it is built on an artificial island just above the ocean, creating a one-of-a-kind floating look. But how is the Burj Al Arab able to avoid flooding due to natural variation in ocean levels? Moreover, what will be the fate of the Burj Al Arab over the next few decades as ocean levels continue to rise? Well, to answer this, we have to first take a look at how the Burj Al Arab was built. It all started in 1993 when resort company Jumeirah International wanted to build a national landmark that would become iconic of Dubai, and price was not a factor. As a result, they asked architect Tom Wright to come up with such an iconic building. Eventually, after months of planning and sketching with his architecture firm W.S. Atkins and Partners, they came up with a building that resembled the dhow of an Arabian fishing boat reminiscent of their past. From the start, Dubai wanted the building to be built off the coast so that it would not be buried by surrounding development. As a result, once plans were finalized, they started out by reclaiming land from the ocean, which is an extremely difficult process. Construction workers started off by drilling 230 concrete piles measuring 130 feet into the seabed, which would support the weight of the new building. This is why the Burj Al Arab is resistant to shifting sand underneath it. It's because it's anchored to the sea floor. Moving on, constructors surrounded the island with precast concrete. These were specifically designed hollow blocks that reduce the force of waves on the island, preventing rough waves from shaking the building. After the skeleton of steel piles and precast concrete was complete, the inside of the skeleton was filled with sand extracted from an offshore seabed. This first step of creating the island itself took over 2 years to complete. But this was just the beginning. Architects still had to ensure that the building wouldn't be knocked down or shifted from strong Gulf winds, seismic tremors, and a corrosive atmosphere. To battle these forces, the Burj Al Arab was built using a strong steel exoskeleton. But these only answered general foundational questions about the building. So how is the building able to prevent flooding? Well, the secret to this is the structure they built between the top of the island and the start of the usable space. Perforated concrete blocks were mounted on the bedrock in a honeycomb pattern. This large structure acts as a ginormous artificial sponge, kind of like a drain on the side of a pool. However, evidently, this can only be so effective. What will happen as sea levels continue to rise? Well, actually, though the media portrays rising sea levels as a dangerous threat to coastal cities and islands, it really isn't. Now, don't get me wrong here, global warming and melting polar caps are definitely an issue that should be addressed, but saying that this issue will cause shorelines to recede and islands to sink is just simply wrong. Studies show that between 1900 and 1990, sea levels rose between 1.2 and 1.7 millimeters per year. However, by the year 2000, they were rising at 3.2 millimeters per year, and in 2016, they were rising at 3.4 millimeters per year. While this is a concerning increase, this is nowhere near enough to sink the Burj Al Arab. The specifics on how many feet the Burj Al Arab sits above sea level are not publicly available, but we can make an educated estimate based on the Palm Islands, which are situated right next to it. During low tide, the lowest portion of the island is situated just 13 feet above the sea. Though this seems like a dangerously low number, this is simply an irrational fear. The max tidal range at Jumeirah Beach is 2.1 meters or 6.9 feet. So even during the highest of tides, the Palm Islands would be 6 feet above sea level. Assuming that the Burj Al Arab is constructed with similar precautions, they would be well over 5 feet above sea level even during the highest of tides. So, at a rate of 3.4 millimeters per year, it would take 448 years for sea levels to become a threat to the Burj Al Arab. Even at a rate of 10 millimeters per year, it would take over 150 years for sea levels to rise to the level of the Burj Al Arab. And this is not even considering the flood prevention mechanism. And you have to keep in mind that this is the worst case scenario. It's unlikely that the height above sea level is only 5 feet for the Burj Al Arab. It's probably closer to 10 feet. Also, it is very unlikely for the sea level rising rate to spike up to 10 millimeters per year. Consequently, a more realistic estimate would leave more than 500 years of time before Dubai would even have to consider rising sea levels as an issue. And after that time, I'm not even sure that this building would even exist, and if it did, I'm not sure it would be so heavily commemorated in a fast-paced city such as Dubai, where they are constantly beating out their old architectural feats. And hey, if rising sea levels did ever become an issue, Dubai has already messed with creating artificial rain and trucking out poop, so maybe they'll just conceive another crazy plan to decrease sea levels. If you guys thought this video explained the risk of the Burj Al Arab flooding well, then make sure to drop a like and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more questions just like this one logically answered. But until then, I'm Hari and I'll see you guys on the next one.